Hey guys, Scott and local James Bond villain here. Today I want to talk about the PTB and the clown, the game changes, and the changes to the asylum maps. And I just want to give a quick overview, view of my opinions on them. So let's start with the big thing, I guess. Oh yeah, Wraith changed too. The big thing was clown's rework. And I'll be fair. I only played it for like 3 hours, so it's not exactly extensive. But I get it. It's very simple. I understand what you're intended to do now. You're intended to basically throw your yellow increased speed gas on one side and then throw your purple slowdown gas on the other side. Then you run through the fast gas, forcing them to run through the slow gas or back into you. Either way, it works out better. Bottom line, what this means at the end result is that you typically can do a little bit better on very, very long loops where you do not kick the pallet. However, I have found that in almost every single scenario where I actually used the yellow gas in such a way that it actually gave me a hit where I couldn't before, I also could have thrown a regular just slowdown gas in one side and kicked a pallet on the other side, forcing them to run basically back into the gas or take a weird pathing way around. And basically, I have not found any extremely useful reason to use the yellow gas, the speed up gas. And we tested a bunch of stuff. Some people were saying you can throw down the gas before you break a pallet, but we tested it. You actually end up losing distance because of the 1.5 seconds it takes to actually throw it and regain control of your character. You only gain 2.3 additional meters of distance overall, which is basically nothing. And you also waste one of your 4 vials that you can actually throw since it's shared with your actual slowdown regular vial. So in almost all scenarios, I could not find a compelling reason to use the yellow mist. There were a couple of times where, like I said, it was a long loop and the pallet was down, and I did it just because I could. And it did end up getting me a hit, which is nice, but I could have just as easily gone to the other side of the pallet and kicked it while throwing gas in the way that the survivor would run away, and it would yield basically the exact same result. So I'm not saying it's useless. I need to be clear that no matter which way you look at it, this is a buff to clown. The reload speed was clowned. The reload speed was increased as well, which is great, and he was given another possible option. It also needs to be clear that this is not meant to be used for map control. I don't know why people are saying you're supposed to use the yellow gas for map control. It's just not worth it at all. You're gaining, like I said, with the full 5-second buff duration of the gas, you're gaining 2.3 extra meters of distance, while also making yourself have to reload shorter because, you're going to have less vials to throw. It's just not worth it. Pretty much in any scenario, it's just not worth it. So, in a nutshell, yes, this is a buff to clown, but clown is arguably the worst killer in the game. This just takes him from the worst killer in the game to he's still bad, but he has another option now, which is cool. Basically, I'm saying I'm disappointed because I wanted I wanted Clown to actually become good. I wanted him to get a sizable buff. Now I understand being temperamental when you are buffing a killer like a buff like Huntress or something like that. Huntress is already a pretty good killer, so if you were to buff her, it would have to be something small like that. Clown was awful. He needed a big buff, and this was not it. The yellow gas, it has a purpose, but the purpose is so minor that it might as well not even be there most of the time. So, overall, the reload speed's nice, but yeah, Clown is better, but better than the worst is still near being the worst. So, pretty disappointed with the changes to Clown so far. Next, let's talk about the changes to Wraith while we're talking about killers in general. One thing that I've noticed is that he seems to be buffed with his windstorm duration coming out of invisibility, which is a undocumented change. I don't know if I'm just placeboing this or not, but I play a lot of Wraith, and I am almost positive coming out of invisibility, you retain your movement speed bonus for longer, or it's smoother. I can't tell, because when you come out of invisibility normally with Wraith, you go really fast, and then you just go back to your normal speed. I think they might have added a curve now, so you go fast, and then slower, and then normal speed. So there might be a bit of a curve now, which means your Windstorm Lunge actually can extend a bit further, which is a net buff. And then obviously there's the whole Invis thing too, which is great. Ideally, I was looking for the Windstorm speed to be the buff that we got with Wraith, but it looks like you're still going to have to use Windstorm with Wraith. However, it looks like he was buffed in 2 facets, which is really nice. So overall, I'm pretty happy with Wraith. I would like a bit more movement speed while stealth, but still pretty good stuff. The game, the game is still has the main problems that the current game has, which is the entire gameplay is just safe pallets. There's just 15 or 16 safe pallets. There's no mind gaming any of them. You just drop the pallet and you have to kick it. Having Spirit Fury Enduring on this map is a godsend. It's still not really any more fun to play. I will give it 2 compliments, though, to be fair. One, it does actually look better. It's a bit too dark, but I think it does look better. Aesthetically, it's pretty nice to look at. And 2, it shows us that you can make an indoor map. You can actually make a proper indoor map by having this big warehouse style. Because the problem with indoor maps is the claustrophobia, and killers, usually need line of sight to use their power. But on the top floor now, there's actually giant, big rooms, and that actually makes it possible to use a lot of powers now. So it shows that you can make an indoor map if you just do it right. So it almost looks like a Costco warehouse or something like that. It actually looks cool, and it's I can see in the distance now, which is a huge issue with indoor maps as well. So the game is still boring to play on, in my opinion. It's still just all safe pallets. The actual gameplay is bad, and they added breakable walls, which just makes things objectively worse because now you have to kick safe pallets and safe walls. So that's awful. But for the most part, aesthetically, it's great, and it does show us that you can make an indoor map. They just need to make more interactive pallets, I think, on this map. Other than that, Asylum actually had some pretty okay changes, I think. None of the breakable walls on Father Campbell's Chapel I thought were really too detrimental. A lot of them actually sort of benefited the killer depending on the direction that you were running. So for the most part, other than the glitches with walking in walls and stuff, which I hope will be fixed, it seems actually pretty decent. No real complaints there, and same goes for Asylum as well. So for the most part, this patch, you know what? It's really not that bad of a patch. There are a lot of bugs and stuff like that, and I'm hoping they'll all be fixed. But looking at bugs aside, the patch actually was not that bad. They did do a couple of nice changes. I think this goes along with my overall mantra for the game, where they just didn't really change that much. Overall, yeah, if you get the new maps, you'll notice a big change. But overall, like, the whole thing is, if you didn't pay attention to what this patch notes were and you just got this patch and you just played DBD normally, you probably wouldn't even know what changed other than the UI, which I think is, that kind of sucks. I just want more stuff to happen, It's just lots of very slow, minor changes, and it's nice, but it's also kind of boring. And yeah, the last thing we'll talk about is the UI, which is just, I don't even have to talk about it. That you know what? I'm just gonna leave it at that. I don't even have to talk about it. That's how we know what the UI is. I don't even have to talk about it. So that is it, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.